In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 board games that I've been playing solo. So let's just get right into the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Clayton, and without any further ado, let's start talking about some board games. Because if you're looking for a good solo game, one of these games might be for you. And the first game I have up for you guys is a game that I've actually owned for quite a while. I just never really considered to play it solo because I wasn't too sure how the mode would really work for me, and that is Tidal Hero of the Reef. This is the Kickstarter Deluxe Edition that I backed. Pretty much this is a worker placement game where you're trying to complete different challenges on different islands, prove yourself that you are the best Tidal Blader by beating out all the players, and to do that is obviously gaining the most amount of victory points. But in solo mode, that's actually not really the case. You're not really more focusing on challenges as much, which is you're more focusing on what is called the champion board. In this game, you're playing with 4 characters, one of which you're controlling, and one of which is controlled by an AI and is considered your rival. And there's a card that dictates what his actions are going to be during his turn. What you have to do in order to win is be ahead of your rival on that champion board. But if you want the ultimate victory, then you have to beat everybody out on that champion board. Now to do that, pretty much what you have to do is perform challenges in front of judges and by defeating monsters. Those are pretty much the 2 ways to move up on that champion board. You can also play this with different characters, and each character has their own asymmetrical deck of cards and abilities that you can use throughout the game. Some players are better at fighting monsters, some players are better at performing stunts. Others could be better at gaining resources like fruit and shells. Now for me personally, I don't really feel like this game has the best solo mode. I feel like I get a better gaming experience playing with other players. The solo mode is fine. It is a good solid worker placement game. If you're looking to fight some monsters, it has that as well. Great, fantastic artwork, which is the whole reason why I backed this game. I love the dice mechanism where you're trying to level up your dice every single round to complete even harder challenges. But like I mentioned, with this version of the game, you're more focusing on challenges where the judge is going to be, and that is pretty much determined randomly at the start of the game, and then every round after that it just goes kind of clockwise. So you really need to pay attention to what challenge cards you should have in your hand and to kind of plan out what round you want to complete what challenges. But that has been Tidal Hero of the Reef. Let me know if you guys have played this solo and what you think of it. I think once you play it with all the characters, there's not really any point to keep playing this solo. I think you get a better experience playing with other players. So let's move on to the next game. Now with that big box out of the way, let's move on to a tinier box and talk about Tiny Towns. Now this is an excellent filler game, I feel like, for anyone that's looking for a game that doesn't take too long to learn, looking for a fun time. Tiny Towns is something I definitely recommend by AEG. Now this solo mode I feel like is great, very satisfying, because the purpose of this game is you're trying to get the most amount of points as possible. The solo mode is point based, so this might not be for you if you don't like point system solo modes. However, with this one, your goal is try to fill out your grid as much as possible with the correct resources and buildings. And there's tons of different buildings that you can build with different abilities. And you have this 4x4 grid that you're using throughout the game. And on your turn, you are gaining a different resource of your choice. And on these building cards, you can see what pattern you need to build in order to build that building. When you're playing this game with other players, that's a little bit hard because each player takes a turn picking the resource that they're trying to build, and each building has a different building. So each player is going to have their own personal strategy when it comes to this game. But when you're playing it solo, it's a little bit more satisfying because you're not dealing with other players messing up your pattern. You're just trying to do the best that you can with what's provided to you. And depending on your score, depends on how good of a build you are. But it is a fun time. If you just want to kill 20 minutes, this is definitely a good solo game I can recommend. Moving on from Tiny Towns, I have Wingspan. Obviously, this is a fantastic engine building game by Stonemaier Games. If you haven't played it solo, I highly recommend to at least give it a shot once. It has a very good AI deck that you are trying to beat out in points. It does recommend you do use the more competitive side than the friendly side when it comes to each one of those rounds. But again, this game doesn't take too long to play. It is only 4 rounds, and I actually have pretty much the 2 expansions here, the Oceania expansion and the European expansion. I've not yet picked up the Asia expansion or the big box. I probably won't. I feel like this is enough for me. There are so many bird cards. Seriously, it's insane. And for this solo mode, after you complete your turn, you flip the top card of the Autonoma deck, and this will determine the action that it's going to do. And this will change based off what round it is. And it can do things like discard bird cards that you need. It can complete an end of round goal, blocking it for you to get the highest points for that round, things like that. It's always a new adventure every time I play, trying to figure out different birds to combo together, trying to gain more resources each round, playing those birds that have the in-between round abilities or end round abilities. But Wingspan solo mode, not a bad solo mode. It can be hard and tricky at times, especially if the birds don't go your way. That is Wingspan by Stonemaier Games. If you haven't played it solo, or if you played it solo, let me know in the comment section down below. With that being said, let's move on to my next game. Marvel Zombies, another fantastic game in my opinion, especially if you are a Marvel fan like me. In Marvel Zombies, it's pretty much a dungeon crawl game where you're giving a certain mission and the goal is to complete that mission before one of your characters dies. This game doesn't really change gameplay wise if you play this solo or with other players. You just pretty much get to control all the characters if you're playing it solo. You're playing with other players, each one can choose a different character or hero to play as, or zombie in this case. Now what I really enjoy about Marvel Zombies than other Zombicide games is that, well, one, this changes up because you actually are the zombies and you're trying to eat the heroes. I know that turns off a lot of people, but they may not like that about the game. But personally for me, I do find that it adds a new mechanic, which is the hunger mechanic. So if you go hungry, you're ravenous and you can't really get to do much except for move and try to devour somebody. It makes the game a little bit more challenging than other Zombicide games. Still not as hard as like a game like Black Plague, which is, I think, a better Zombicide game than Marvel Zombies, but still a great game, great looking miniatures, great challenging missions as well. I think I played through them all and beaten them all. There might be one that I'm not thinking about that I've beaten, and I think that's the one that uses like all the tiles. But besides that, I feel like I have gotten a good experience with the game. And if playing as a zombie does turn you off, there's also the Marvel Resistance version of the game where you get to play as heroes, and you can actually play hero mode in this as well if you mix the components of both these games. So you can still play hero mode in this if you don't want to play as zombies. You just got to pick up this expansion or standalone game. It's not an expansion. Instead, there is the X-Men Resistance that is going to be coming to retail later, either this year or early next year. We were introduced more of a hero mode for this game, which I can't wait for. But overall, a great Zombicide game, a good entry level, I think, also into a Zombicide game, if that's something that you're into. And speaking about Marvel, let's talk about this next game, Marvel Snap. Now, I'm not really including this as one of the 5 board games that I've been playing, but I have been playing this game a lot, and it can be considered a solo game. I mean, you are facing off an opponent, but it's through your phone, it's an app, through your computer if you want as well. I've been having a lot of fun with it, so I thought I'd throw it in on this list. It can be very addicting, so if you are somebody that is easily addicted to trading card games, then this is probably something I won't recommend because it can be a pay-to-win type of game. It says it's not pay-to-win, but honestly, if you want to get those better cards faster, then you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get those better cards. Pretty much the goal of the game is to win 2 lanes out of 3, and there's different energy levels and power levels to different Marvel characters, and they all have very unique abilities. And they are adding a bunch of new stuff to the game, which I'm personally enjoying. I just hope they also balance a few things out. It can be frustrating at times if a certain card everyone's playing just kind of breaks the game for me. But overall, I'm still having a great time with it, so I wanted to throw it in this video. And since we're talking about a digital game, another game that I've been kind of playing solo because I'm not too sure if I really want it or not as a board game, and that is Gloomhaven Digital. Now, I've been playing this on Steam a little bit, dabbling my feet into it because they just launched the newest, it's not a Kickstarter, but on BackerKit, they have Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, the RPG as well. It's been the #1 game on Board Game Geek for so long. I really wanted to enjoy this game, but for me personally, I don't think I need a physical copy of the game when I can spend only like $40, play it on my computer at my own pace, not have it set up, not taking a bunch of time out of my gaming time, which I already have a limited time to play so many board games, to play this all the time. Just those type of games that you need permanently set up all the time, or it takes hours to set up, is not really a game for me at this point in my life. Personally for me, I just don't have a committed game group that can get together every single week. That's partly on me as well because I have kids, a full-time job. Some things always come up every single week that I just can't go to a game night or I can't host a game night. But at this point in my life right now, it's just something I don't think I need in my collection. So that's why I'm trying the digital version out and getting my gaming experience from it there. Now moving on to the last game on this list, which I'm sure you guys have guessed by now because I've talked about it on the channel quite a bit, and that is The Witcher Old World. Hang on, it's a big box. I don't want to tip it over because I don't want all the components to fall out, but The Witcher Old World is, I feel like, a fantastic solo game. It's personally one of my favorite modes to play this game. It says 1 to 5 players, but if you literally play with 4 to 5 players, you're looking at a longer game time, which for somebody like me, I don't like to play games hours on end. I try to fit more than one game during a game night, and if I'm playing a game for 4 hours, that's not going to happen. For the solo mode, for me, what I liked is not really in the base game. I'm not a big fan of that solo mode. The solo mode that I do like, however, is with the Legendary Hunt expansion and the Monster Trail expansion. You mix those two together, I think you have an incredible difficult solo mode to play. You can play as different characters, mages or the witchers, all very unique, different abilities. And it's very challenging because you only have a certain number of rounds before you have to go and fight the legendary monster and try to kill it. And there's a way to change the difficulty if you wish to do so. I explained this more in my review, so I highly recommend to check that out if you haven't. But every time I play this solo, I just simply enjoy it, finding different ways to move on the board, try to find out different strategies to level up my Witcher as best as I can. Go on different quests is always fun to do, even though I only have a limited amount of turns until I have to go fight the legendary monster. Also, there's different destruction tokens to pick up. It just feels like you are doing a lot more in this solo mode than what is in the base game. Just always have an exciting time every time I play this game, whether that be solo or with other players. It always leaves me wanting to play it again and again. It's probably my #1 solo game right now that I recommend. It is hitting retail stores soon, which is kind of sucks because I don't think they have the Monster Trail expansion for sale, which does make this game a whole lot better. And I can't recommend just picking up the base game as well, because again, I feel like the best way to get the experience from this game is with the Legendary Hunt and Monster Trail expansion. But if you want to hear more about my thoughts about this game, then I highly recommend to check out my review on it, which I'll have linked down below and in this corner somewhere on this page. And if you guys like this video, let me know what games you like playing solo in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.